Hello, I am Peter Blackwood. Welcome back to Icon Diary. In the May classes of the Uniting Church Icon Schools, I was exploring and demonstrating how complementary colours can be used for painting interesting shadows in our icons. Of course, the complementary colour is the colour opposite on the colour wheel. The most usual ways for making darker tones of basic colours is to add some black or some burnt umber. But for hundreds of years, artists have been using complementary colours to make new colours to depict shadows in their paintings. So for this demonstration, let us look at the colour wheel. It's a simple colour wheel because it only has the primary and secondary colours, and I've used pigments that I commonly use in painting icons. I haven't made secondary colours out of the primary colours. So on this colour wheel we have red, using cadmium red, and then the very bright cadmium orange, then yellow ochre. For the green, chromium oxide, then ultramarine blue, and for purple there's quite strange and dark caput mortuum. I first got to thinking about using complementary colours in iconography for shadows when I was painting an icon of Saint Anthony of Egypt. I painted him with a blue headdress, using ultramarine blue, and I wanted to make the shady bits, the darker bits from this blue, and this I was about to reach for the Mars black pigment or the burnt umber, which is common for making pigments darker, when I remembered how artists, having used complementary colours to make their pigments darker, how this might use. When I considered this, I thought it would be ridiculous because the complementary colour for ultramarine blue, which is very bright and blingy, the opposite for this on the colour wheel would be a bright and blingy orange, like cadmium orange. How could this bright colour make blue darker? Well, it did. I mixed the blue and added just a little bit of the bright orange, and it made a beautiful dark blue. So let's see what happens. What might happen in this demonstration? I painted this demonstration in front of a class, and what you can see on this these samples is what I painted on that day. So I was working quite quickly. If I was working on a panel, if I was painting an icon, I would be testing and confining the results much more carefully and precisely than in this demonstration. But you'll get the idea. So I started by doing what I had done with St. Anthony's headdress. I painted a swatch of ultramarine blue, and then I added a tiny bit of cadmium orange, with the result of a new colour of a darker version of the blue. And then I tried cadmium red, making it darker by adding a little bit of the green, of the chromium oxide, and that worked really quite well. And then I went the other way around, painted a swatch of red and added a tiny bit of green. Then the yellow, and adding a bit of caput mortuum, it worked quite well. I did this twice, as you can see. I added a little bit first and I added quite a bit more, and it comes up quite a different colour, but it does work. I'd have to say that I get most use out of complementary colours, making darker tones with the reds and the greens. with the next demonstration, I wanted to show how using glaze of the complementary colour can change the main colour on an icon. So way before I started the class, I had painted the 6 colours onto my demonstration sheet so that the paint would be really dry by the time we came to do the class. So what happens if you do a glaze over these dried colours? A glaze is a very transparent version of the colour. That is, it's mixed with egg tempera and then clean water is added, and the brush is dried out quite a lot so that it just coats the surface with a very thin coat of diluted paint. And so we tried some diluted green and painted that across the red, and we tried some diluted ultramarine blue and painted that across the bright orange. I skipped the yellow and went to the green and added the red to the green, and this demonstration was not so obvious, but for the blue, adding the orange to the blue, it was quite a good result. You can certainly add a number of coats of the glaze to refine the effect. Well, I hope that this has been interesting and maybe even helpful. I need to say, however, that using the complementary colours for making darker tones does not replace the time-honoured methods that we use for making pigments darker that we've always used in the past, doing underpainting of the shadows with burnt umber or raw umber green, with membrane coats of the pigment over the top. Let me say again that I have had most success and used most often the complementary colour method with the greens and the reds. Hope this has been helpful, and well, thank you for watching.